Episode 21 of Griddyiron Gang. What we got for you today is a Monday night recap and a Week 10 preview. Starting off with Monday night recap, we had the Baltimore Ravens on the road at the New Orleans Saints. Both teams riddled with injuries. Rashad Bateman, star wide receiver, out for Baltimore for the rest of the year. Michael Thomas, star receiver for the Saints, out for the rest of the year. In this game, though, Baltimore got away with the W 27-13. I really thought it was a team effort. Really like what I saw on the defensive side of things. Roquan Smith, in his addition and his debut, had 5 tackles. We had 2 turnovers that were taken away from us, one by rule, one by penalty. Not going to show up on the scoreboard, but what did was an interception by Justin Houston, our one turnover of the game. 2.5 sacks by him as well. Marlon Humphrey was everywhere. Pass deflections, tackles for losses. Really like what I saw from the defense. And then Lamar Jackson, like we've been saying, a lot of these games are going to be won with the quarterback, 150 yards, 80 yards on the ground. That's what we saw today. Lamar, 133 through the air, 82 on the ground, 1 touchdown. Kenya Drake with no Gus and no J.K. Dobbins ended up 2 touchdowns, just under 100 yards in this game. Your boy Isaiah Likely did have a few drops, but he did have 1 catch, and that 1 catch did go for a touchdown. So all-around effort. Nobody was really a star in this game. I guess if you wanted to argue, you could say Justin Houston or Kenyon Drake was the star for Baltimore. But on the other side of things, Dalton just over 200 yards. The team just under 50 yards rushing. So something that I didn't expect coming into this game, but maybe the addition of Roquan Smith was a big factor in that. Olave seems like he's still on track to be on a good pace as a rookie receiver. Saints lose this game though, real close to being out of playoff contention. Baltimore
very close.
Needed that win with Cincinnati winning big over the Carolina Panthers to stay atop of the AFC North. So big game for Baltimore, big game for New Orleans. They got a big one next week. I think the loser of that game is going to be out, but we can get to that when we get to that. What you think of this Monday night football game?
It was, I didn't expect the Saints to perform the way they did, but I think that's a credit to Baltimore's defense. I think this was a Baltimore defense type of game that you usually come to expect. It's kind of interesting seeing the stat line when you only see Lamar passing for only 22 attempts, only 12 completions. But like when you got a guy like him who's so dynamic on the ground, you can get away with that. And when we're talking about other quarterbacks who do that type of stuff, like Justin Fields, for example, he's not even in the same league as Lamar right now. So Lamar can showcase his talents with passing and running. Little accuracy issues that we've talked about over the few months leading up to the season, but Lamar is still probably one of my MVP candidates. I think the way he leads that team, the way they follow him, and just the production he gives on a week-to-week basis for that squad. So. But Isaiah Likely, a few drops, but he's a rookie. He's a little raw still, and he's learning from Mark Andrews, which you love to see that. So he's going to be in good hands, and that team has a good quality tight end for the future. And on the Saints side, Olave is a stud. He's if that team was able to be fully healthy game in and game out, that record looks a lot different, I think. But it's tough sledding this year for them, and it's unfortunate because they're always a tough-nosed football team, and they're still going to be battling each game that they're in, and they could be one of those teams that ruin seasons. So you can't take them lightly ever. But a quality game from Baltimore, especially by the defense. It wasn't a terrible game to watch. I thought it was not terrible football, but I just wish that I could see what a fully healthy Saints team could do against some of these teams they're going up against.
I agree with that. That team is very talented, but they've been hit with a lot of injuries, and a lot of injuries to their star players. Baltimore, we kind of saw the same thing that we've been seeing, and the same thing I'm going to kind of expect. A couple overthrows and miscommunications with Lamar, but a couple of drops from his receivers as well. A rushing attack that's going to keep the ball away from those high-power offenses, and a defense that's going to stay true kind of like you guys are going to bend but not break. But we do give up the big play from time to time. But over the past few weeks, we seem to eliminate that aspect. So I'm liking what I'm seeing as of late.
Yeah, I think on the Baltimore side of things, and especially with Lamar Jackson, I mean, he wants big money this offseason. And whether that's with Baltimore or not, I don't know. But if it is with Baltimore, I beg and plead with you guys to go out and get a couple quality receivers. You can't rely on Bateman and the other guys going forward. I mean, it's just not going to cut it. He needs some more firepower on the outside.
And I'll cut him some slack. I know I get on him about his passing yards and his accuracy, but his two best weapons were down this game.
Yeah.
His two best running backs were down this game. So he's been able to pull out games like this for the past 2 years now with a lot of his weapons being down. So,
and that's an MVP type player though. That
it
can
is.
do that. So I mean, credit to him. And I just but when you are fully healthy, I would just like to see next season you guys start the season out with two quality receivers who he can continuously rely on.
That'd be a great sight to see. It's something we haven't really ever seen. Really, I mean, Anquan Bolden was reliable. Steve Smith, I guess, was reliable, but he was past his prime. I mean, we really haven't had one for a while.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now, we're halfway through the season. Week 9 is finished in this new 18-week season. We're going to take a look at our top 5 MVP candidates and our top 5 Coach of the Year candidates. If you want to start, we'll go with Coach of the Year first, 5-1, and maybe give a little reasoning behind each.
So you want me to go fifth to first?
Yeah.
Okay. So my fifth guy I have on my list is Pete Carroll.
Okay.
What he's been able to do with this Seattle team, and especially with Geno Smith, obviously having a career revival this year. Nobody expected this from the Seattle team, but they're playing out of their minds. And it at this point in the season, you got to consider it to be absolutely for real. And if it continues to go as it's going, I mean, they're a team that could win multiple playoff games. So it's a credit to Pete. And, this offseason, I was doubting him. I didn't know how much longer he had left in him to coach. He's up there in age. But I mean, what I see this year, I mean, he could definitely go another 5 years.
You want me to say my 5, or you want to go all the way up?
I can see. I mean, you go your 5.
All right, my fifth. Well, let me go my honorable mention first. It's
okay.
Kevin McConnell.
Kevin O'Connell.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
What he's been able to do with the Vikings team, and we talked about it a little bit in our last episode, we don't think Zimmer would be able to do that. We would think in the same situation, same game circumstances, his team would probably be 4-4, 5-3, maybe at best. But now 7-1, he's able to pull these games out. I think I have to put him in this conversation. My fifth coach, though, is McDaniel. We talked about him a little bit yesterday. Maybe it's just me, but I don't believe in Tua still, even though he was an Alabama guy. And I did believe in him coming into the league. But to have success with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, these guys, I know they're good weapons, but to have this quarterback carousel so far this year, this controversy that's been going on around your team, and to be able to have these guys pull together these wins, comeback wins, down by big deficits, be able to put 30 points up on anybody, win healthy, I think he has a lot to do with that. So
for sure.
He's my fifth right now.
Well, he's my fourth. So everything you just said, and I just love the system he has in place for that team. It fits that personnel perfectly. I mean, he's an offensive mastermind, and it's showing. I mean, he knows where to put the guys and how to make them succeed each play in and play out. It's just, I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do in this first year. I mean, and it's no, I'm still a little disappointed that Flores got the boot because I didn't believe he should have.
For sure.
But I think if you're going to hire a guy, I think you hired the right guy.
Another black guy, right?
Yeah, I guess technically, yeah.
My number 4 is Robert Saleh, coach of the New York Jets. Similar to Miami, a lot of quarterback controversy. You come into the season, you lose your left tackle, you lose your quarterback, you have to start Joe Flacco. You change up your whole offensive scheme. You're not really using the running backs, and you're throwing the ball 58 times a game with Flacco. He gets hurt. You use Breece Hall. This defense is really the backbone of this team, and you rely on that. and beating Buffalo was very impressive. 6-3, very impressive. Definitely a team I thought would have around 8-9 wins, but didn't think they'd be this far ahead of 500 at this point in the season. So I'm gonna have to go him at number 4.
All right. Well, before I say my third guy, I'm gonna have to. That was my honorable mention. He didn't make my 5, but that was definitely a guy I was eyeing to put in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And for every reason you just said, I mean, since he got hired there, I thought they nailed that coaching pick, and the way he's continuously just building that team up. This team's going to be a contender in no time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but with that being said, my third guy is Brian Daboll, and what he's been able to do with this mediocre Giants team, who's playing above their heads. Like, credit to Saquon, because that dude is probably an MVP candidate. The way he's come back, let alone, I mean, if not MVP, comeback player of the year. So he's another guy like McDaniel, who's an offensive mastermind. I mean, the way he's setting his guys up and putting them in positions to be successful, it's outstanding, especially with a guy like Daniel Jones at quarterback leading the team. And you hardly got any serious weapons on the outside. So it's remarkable what he's done with this team this year, and it's fun to watch.
My third, coach out there in Philly. Out of respect, 8-0 so far. We look at the schedule and we think you have a chance to go 17-0 in some people's eyes. I think coming into the season, you did have high expectations, and to have this team play at a high level so far this season, it's really hard to keep those guys focused every week in, week out. You have another challenge, and the chip on your shoulder and the target on your back gets even bigger.
Yeah.
As long as that win column keeps piling up and the L's stay the same. Everybody's going to give you their best shot, and you're handling it really well right now.
Yeah, I agree. My number 2, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, he had to do it. Not Matt LaFleur?
No. I put Kevin O'Connell number 2 because, number 1, we kind of have the same team as last year, and what he's been able to do in just 1 year with this team, kind of instilling like quiet confidence amongst them and just letting them have fun and be themselves. And it clearly shows. I mean, we see Kirk rocking the chains after road trips and taking his shirt off and dancing, and the other teammates hyping him up. And I mean, you'd never see that under Zimmer. Like, he would just put his head down and go home after games. So it's fun to watch what this team has become personality wise, and the fact that we're 7-1 right now. How can he not be in the top 2 or 3 running as coach of the year?
Hard to argue that. I mean, I do with my list, but
yeah.
It is hard to argue. My second, I'm going to have to go Pete Carroll. What he's been able to do with this team, they already have more wins than I predicted. I definitely thought this team was a bottom feeder, a top 10 pick team. He's been able to instill a lot of the same things that you were saying about your coach. Pretty much the same roster with the addition of Kenneth Walker, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's been able to instill confidence in Geno. The offense looks great. The defense is getting better every week. There's not enough that you can say about Pete Carroll right now and the job he's doing out there in Seattle, but I'm just trying to keep it short, so he's my number 2 right now.
Yeah, there's really not. I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do. I mean, and from the jump, I just want to say, just from the jump, like, since he's come in, ever since college, but coming into the NFL, he hasn't changed who he is at one time.
Nope.
Chomping on the bubble gum, dancing on the sidelines,
flexing in front of DK.
Yeah, like, I mean, why? How couldn't you want to? How could you not want to play for a guy like that?
I hear that.
And now, down to my number 1 candidate, it's Nick Sirianni. I mean, to take this Philly team, who, I mean, even in the offseason had major questions. I mean, even after they brought in AJ Brown, like, we didn't know what to expect with this team. Last year, the past couple of years, they've underperformed mightily, and there's major question marks around Jalen Hurts and seeing if he could make a jump, and he's clearly made that jump, and he's continuing to get better, and he hasn't even hit his ceiling yet, I don't think.
No, he's not close.
So he, I mean, just this team just looks unstoppable right now, and the system they have in place is great. The defense is great, but I have to, eat my words because when he was hired and I saw his press conference being introduced, I thought this dude was just a nerdy, didn't know what he was doing type of guy. Like the way go back, like everyone out there, go back and watch his introductory press conference, and you know what I'm talking about. Like this guy was like, whoa, stuttering over his words. It looked the position just looked too big for him, but he's clearly like. That was clearly just some type of nerves he was having that day, and he's settled in, and I mean, they're rocking the boat right now.
My number one, the guy who's going to be challenging this guy in the division is Brian Daboll. You said a lot about him, and I have to agree with you. He's doing a lot with nothing right now. To have Daniel Jones as your quarterback, you're fighting for a number one seed in this division.
Yeah.
Realistically, you probably are a number one seed in every other division. I mean, Eagles being 8-0 is just...
It's tough. I mean, to be in that division this year is tough.
Yeah, that's an anomaly to be 8-0. So.
But you're hanging there with the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Also 6-2.
So, I mean, that is major credit.
Your best weapon being a running back. You just traded away another wide receiver. You honestly don't have a wide receiver I can name off the top of my head right now. I think you lost your tight end to Jacksonville. So, for you to be able to do what you're doing with this defense, mainly in this run game, we've been saying that's the formula, but this is the prime example of that because Daniel Jones is going in there every week, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 50 yards, maybe a touchdown, and they're coming out of here 19-16, 22-16. Close games. Good teams win close games. Good coaches are a big part in that. So right now, Daboll is my number one coach of the year.
And that's the thing with this team, like, every team out there right now is saying, all we got to do is stop Saquon. But how are you going to do that when this man is playing out of his mind? Like, he came back with a vengeance this year, and he's unstoppable half the time.
He is.
He's just wearing people down. And if you don't have him bottled up by halftime, they're going to get you. They're gonna bite you. I mean, it's just that's how it's happening. And if he's worn you down by the start of the third quarter, you've lost the game.
So something I noticed about our list preseason, I had Andy Reid, you had McDermott. Neither of us have those guys on our list. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, for me, in my pick of McDermott, I look back on that pick, and now I'm looking as the season's gone on, thinking about it. It's just. This Buffalo team was expected to be good, and they are. But I there is some credit that he does deserve. But I mean, he's got such a squad that I mean, any coach could really go in there and you'd really have to fuck something up to mess this team up and make them bad.
What do you think Mike Tice does over there?
Mike Tice? It's the Randy ratio 2.0 with Stephon Diggs, bro. I mean, but I mean, I don't know. It's just, for me, on the flip side of things, where Daboll has a defense and running game, Buffalo has a defense and it's strictly passing, with the exception of Allen being the leading rusher every game, damn near. That, to me, once you hit the playoffs, can falter mightily, especially when you run into the Chiefs again. And, it's teams are going to be able to.
You just won't name Baltimore, will you?
Well,
you were trying to think of another team, and you didn't even.
Well, because I mean,
no respect.
Baltimore. I'm not trying to diss Baltimore because they are a quality team. They will be in the playoffs, and like I told you today.
Don't think I didn't peep your Bengals colors over there.
That's not on purpose, bro. But. Baltimore can give them a run for the money for sure. But what I was getting to is a lot of these teams out there, they know the game plan that Buffalo comes with each week. You just got to play your best game against them, and you have a chance at beating them. They're a very beatable team, but they're a very good beatable team. So you just got to catch them on the right day, outplay them, and I mean, and that's tough to do. But McDermott, it's not like he's one of these coaches on our list that's taking a team and inputting a system and making them better, or working his magic. I mean, to me, McDermott doesn't seem like he's making or breaking the team. He's just, calling the plays and making sure it doesn't go south.
For me, in all these cases, maybe I can make the exception for Mike McDaniel. These guys just do more with less than Andy Reid does. I think when you have Patrick Mahomes, hands down the best quarterback in the league, you don't have to be that great of a coach. I do think he is that good of a coach. I think he for sure is top 5. He might not be top 5 in the running this year, but I might honestly have him at 7 or 8. But Pete Carroll, Dayball, we didn't expect these guys to have records like this. Salah, so
no, and that just
you just have to look at that and respect it and call it how it is.
And a lot of the times when we talk about coach of the year, we're looking at first or second year coaches most of the time. So and we have what I would say 2 or 3 of those type of guys on our list.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean Andy Reid and McDermott for me, when I look back on it, they were just the easy picks to start the season because we thought, hey, these two
14 and 3.
But a lot of the times when you have a good coach, like McDermott's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but when you have Andy Reid or McDermott and they're coaching like loaded rosters, and I'm not saying Kansas City has a loaded roster or anything, but when you have the best quarterback by far in the league who is just pure magic out there, man, I don't know. It's hard because Josh Allen and Mahomes are quarterbacks who can go out there, have a play call from the coach, but they come up with their own play call at the line of scrimmage. So that's the difference that I'm talking about, is where they have the trust from their coaches to go out there and do what they do. And I think it's more on those teams right now, it's more so about the quarterbacks and the players around them than it is the coaching.
I feel that. You bring up Mahomes, you bring up Allen. We can just switch that right over to MVP talk. Excuse me. Again, I have an honorable mention. Again, he plays for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins.
All right. He didn't make my list, but I was thinking about it. I just didn't want to get the homer status. So.
Nah, man. You're 7-1. Your only loss is to the undefeated team in the league. So if that loss is to anybody else, you're a game out of first place in the whole division or in the whole conference. You're not out here playing like Daniel Jones or anything like that. You are a good quarterback. So just for that reason, I have to put you in this conversation. You are accurate. You get your stats. You take care of the ball. You're leading this team. A couple game-winning drives. Something that hasn't been true in the past. So I definitely think with the addition of Kevin O'Connell, you can see that confidence and you can see a change in play a little bit from Kirk. So for that reason, he's my honorable mention. 5th, he's back. Put the crown on his head. King Henry. He is the only reason this team is worth watching. He's the only reason this team is worth talking about. They lose A.J. Brown. I don't know if he's going to be in your MVP race, but he was honorable mention for me as well. They lose the guy they replaced him with in Traylon Burks.
Mm-hmm.
They lose their quarterback. This guy's just still trucking along like nothing happened.
Yeah.
After missing half of the season last year with a broken ankle, broken foot, whatever the case was, he came back this season, started slow, but he's on pace to fuck up the league again and lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, he didn't make my list, but he'd be up there, I would say, because how a guy, he's got the Adrian Peterson effect. I mean, you look back on the Vikings in 2012 with Christian Ponder at quarterback, didn't have much for receivers besides Percy Harvin. I mean,
and he only played 7 games a year.
Wait, I don't even. And we didn't even have him that year because I think he got traded to the Seahawks that year.
Or he played like 12 games for Seattle.
So, but he still has the Adrian Peterson effect. I mean, when you're that good of a rusher and you can single-handedly take over a game and just completely wear down a defense, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know how much longer he's got in him, to be completely honest, because of just how many hits he takes and how big he is, because eventually I think he's going to lose some of that speed. But the dude is unreal. So, I mean, that's that's good. I like that pick.
And we should mention, or I should mention that, what's his face out there? Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely in contention for this coach of the year, and I think he'll be in the conversation towards the end of the year. I mean, maybe not top 5, but in that 7 or 8. But what he's doing with that team out there right now is very impressive. Because you want to talk about no talent.
Yeah.
He's right up there with Dayball when you're dealing with no talent. So it's really just running back and prey on your defense. So that's impressive too for Vrabel. But give me your 5. If you got an honorable mention, go ahead. Let me know that too.
I didn't have an. I guess for my honorable mention, I'd have to go Kirk because I was thinking about him, but I didn't put him in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
My number 5 is got to be Tyreek Hill. I think what he's doing in Miami with Tua, I mean, like I said on the pod yesterday, if you got a quarterback who is not underthrowing him, he's probably around 1,500 yards right now. And that's through 8-9 games of the season. That's unreal, bro. That. I mean, that's on pace for well over 2,000 yards, shattering the record.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, just the way the type of speed he has in pads is second to none. No one even comes close to him. I mean, you got guys you could say who come close, but I mean, Waddle's fast as well. But I've never seen a guy like Tyreek move on a football field. And it's it's phenomenal to watch. I mean, you don't get any better than that.
Nah, it's fun as hell.
So I think you gotta consider him for sure. I wouldn't even put Kirk as my honorable mention. I'd have to go Micah Parsons. He was very close to making my top 5. The way he single-handedly has transformed that defense, I have no words for it.
I didn't want to make my list too long, but he is my number 7.
Yeah, like
Reek was in my 10 as well, and then I mentioned AJ. So I mean, I had but I had to pick who I had to pick.
I get you, but no, I think I would just like to touch on Micah Parsons. I mean,
that defense was historically bad. They draft Micah Parsons,
game changer.
They're good. Now they're a great defense in the second year.
I mean, he does it all, bro. Like he's just. I hate the Cowboys, but I love watching Micah Parsons.
11 from heaven, as Skip was
saying. Him and Trayvon Diggs are fun to watch.
Yeah, that might be the best duo in the league over Donald and Ramsey after what we've been seeing lately.
And the thing is, if they can, hit the playoffs and not cowboy themselves, if you'd like to say.
No, that's a verb.
Like,
you know exactly what you're talking about.
They can make a good run and possibly get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Because
that defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense.
It is. No question about it. My number 4, Josh Allen. Top 3 quarterback in the league. I don't think anybody can argue that. He's able to do it with his arm. What he's able to do with his arm is different from what a lot of guys can do.
Right.
And then his body, what he can do on his legs, different from what a lot of guys can do. I don't know, man. He seems like he has it. He has that it factor. If you're down, 2 minutes left, he's one of those guys I have confidence in going down the field, get me a score. He did it plenty of times last year. We've seen it against the Chiefs in the playoffs, most notably. This is just a guy, man. Came into the league, had a lot of questions about him. It's really struggled his first 2 years. I know the addition of Stephon Diggs was big, but he's really proven to be one of those guys. And I think this year he's finally going to take that next step. Looks like he has taken that next step, but I do think there is room to grow. But for this year right now, I think he's 4th on my MVP ladder.
All right, that's fair enough. For me, Geno Smith. I know you're going to have him higher on yours.
I don't even know if I have him on my list.
What Geno has been able to do to revive his career when, I can remember watching the draft back when, and he's sitting there on day 2 in the green room still. And, I mean, he's never hung his head. He's never pouted. He's never made a scene or been a drama queen. He's just... He kept doing it right. Like, I mean, he stayed the path, stayed the course, and it's paid off to get to the situation he's in with Seattle right now under Pete Carroll. Great situation. We saw a glimpse of it, I think, last year when he got his shot, but Russell came back and he didn't really get to show any more. And this year we kind of went off of that coming into the season, and I was like, I don't know if he can produce like that on a consistent level. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if he's doing this the way he is this year, and he's got the weapons on the outside, Lockett, Metcalf, and then now you got Kenneth Walker, and their defense is playing really good. It's a very quality team, but I mean, you call it comeback player of the year, but for me, I don't even know if you can call it comeback player of the year because he just hasn't been able to get a shot. But to come out this year and just do what he's done and lead this team with conviction, it's like, man, tell me a better story of the year.
It's gonna be a Disney movie one day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, tell me a better story because there isn't one. He's a class act. They wrote me off, but I didn't write back.
I ain't write back though. I can't wait to go see that movie. My number 3, I think he wears number 1. Jalen Hurts, former Alabama guy, came into the league drafted out of Oklahoma. A lot of questions. Had to sit behind Carson Wentz. Didn't really have weapons his first go around. He gets A.J. Brown, similar to Josh Allen. Looks like a whole new guy. I think it's really important to get these guys some help when they're young. It really helps their development. In this case, I just think this guy's a workhorse too. He was going to get better regardless. You can see that in his game. Good RPO, makes a lot of good reads. Might not have the biggest numbers, but he's the leader of an 8-0 team. He's the leader of a football team. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, I got him at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from. I already said on the pod last night he hasn't made mine, so I'd be contradicting myself if I put him in mine today. So I can't, and I didn't. My number 3 is Lamar. I think the way he plays week to week, the way he leads the team, he's very special on the ground. Has a little bit of work to do in the pass game, but there's not one game out there where I can watch Lamar and be like, I don't trust this guy. And you take away Lamar from that team, and we're talking about a totally different team right now. Like he is a game changer for sure.
2-7.
And I mean, this dude, he's a baller, and he's gonna get paid this offseason. He already has 1 MVP. I think he's definitely worthy of another. And if he gets them to the playoffs and they can do damage, shoot, there ain't no telling what this team can do.
Back up the Brinks truck, if that's the case. Oh shit, my number 2, you mentioned I'd have him higher. I damn sure do. Geno Smith, 7 from heaven right now. Shit.
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks will be nowhere without this guy. I know we like Drew Lock because he sings and raps to Jeezy on the sideline, but as a quarterback, he just can't get the job done. Maybe Dancing with the Stars, America's Got Talent. Maybe that's where he needs to be. But right now, Geno is taking this team from a dumpster team to number 1 in the NFC South. No, NFC West. See, just think too much sometimes. Number 1 in the NFC West. When we thought, what would that be? San Francisco or the Rams for sure. Maybe even the Cardinals. I mean, we had this team 4th no matter what. So him, Pete Carroll, definitely have those guys number 2 on my list. Kind of pairing those together like I have Hurts and Sirianni number 3 on my list.
Yep.
Geno's just the guy, man. He's playing with confidence, looking like a top 5 guy, honestly. So number 2 in my list. I really argue anybody who tries to have him outside of the top 5.
Man, you can't have him out of the top 5 because I've said what I said, but this dude is it's unreal this year. Like, this is the best storyline of the season for me is Geno Smith, hands down. Like, I just love what the guy's doing. I love what he's about. And if I was a Seahawks fan, I'd be running out to get his jersey.
Which one? The neon green?
No.
Gray?
White.
The white one's cold. Not the best colors out there in Seattle. Got to change that uniform up a little bit. I did like the Shaun Alexander blues they had back in the day.
Yeah, but overall, I like the concept they have right now on the uniforms compared to back then. They were just a little too dull for me back then. I definitely don't like the neon greens, but I love the whites. The grays are pretty cool. And the navies are all right, but the whites are one of the cleanest in the NFL.
Not to get off topic, but the cleanest whites in the NFL to me has to be Buffalo.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that.
It's a different kind of white.
Yeah. It's like my number 2 though, Josh Allen. I mean, you said everything I was gonna say. I mean, the dude's work ethic is second to none. Like the way he's improved year in and year out, and Man, I mean, I think I picked him for my MVP this year, before the season. I mean, and I had him number 1 on my list for quarterbacks, and I'll take that back and I'll eat that. But he's still up there. He's still worthy of an MVP, and God bless him, because I hope this injury is not going to set him back too far.
Yeah, we're supposed to hear more news on that today, but I haven't heard anything yet.
No, they came out today and they said, I think McDermott said something along the lines of they're hopeful he can practice and play this week, but they'll know more tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so we'll see tomorrow. But because obviously practice starts tomorrow for these teams this week. So we'll see. I don't even know if he got his MRI yet or not. I'm assuming he did. And they're maybe just keeping it under wraps until practice tomorrow. But like I said, us playing them this week, I'd rather go up against Allen and the best of the best than to have to face Case Keenum and possibly lose to a backup.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to lose, I'd rather lose to Josh Allen. So, yeah, that's my number 2.
He was your preseason number 1. Mine was Mahomes. Do you have him number 1 as well?
Yes.
You give your reasoning so we don't have to.
Just the consistent shit I see week to week with the mind-boggling plays he can make, and the way he's so shifty out there with the ball in his hands when he is running it, the way he can juke people. I mean, and then he can no-look pass like it's nothing. I mean, he drops absolute dimes. I mean,
450 yards in his last game, but the biggest plays were with his legs.
It's crazy, bro. Like, this is a guy that this is a type of quarterback I go on Madden and try to create.
It's a good way to put it. It's either him, Josh Allen, or Lamar. Those are the 3 kind of guys you want.
Yeah. But my ultimate guy, because I like running quarterbacks, is Mahomes. I'd take probably Lamar's running ability over him.
You say you take Mahomes because you like running quarterbacks?
Yeah.
He's the worst runner of the 3, in my opinion.
But that's how good of a passer he is, though. He's still got the capability to be one of the top runners as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he shows that. And he's very shifty and elusive, and he's got sneaky speed. And it's mind-boggling to see the type of plays he can come up with out there. It's like being back at recess.
It really is. Or you go to the park on the weekend and play whatever pickup ball with all-time quarterback.
Or you're in Wessel or Olsen's gym class, and we're playing that what's that football game in the gym where you're constantly you got to get it to the baseline.
No running.
But you can only take like 2 or 3 steps, and you got to pass.
Yeah,
constantly.
I remember that one. What was that shit called?
I forget what that's called.
Oh no, I took gym too serious. I ain't get on nobody like Aaron Rodgers, but if we lost, I was definitely hot for the next period.
Lunch was terrible if we had gym right before lunch.
I got to high school, I thought we had recess still. I'm like, y'all niggas just eating and chilling. Y'all not trying to go hoop or something? But like, we don't got recess, bro. But it's cool. I adjusted quick. You got anything else on these MVPs?
No, I mean, I think we have a solid list for both coach and MVPs. It's going to be interesting to see these end of season reward or awards, because I mean, do they give them out based on just regular season, or does it go into postseason play as well?
It has to be just regular season.
I would think so, because everyone's up for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but do they announce it during playoffs or after playoffs?
Has to be during.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know.
Because I don't pay too close attention to those with, like, especially if it's during the playoffs and I'm paying attention to that. So usually when the whole season as a whole is done after the Super Bowl, I go back and I'll look at awards and I'll look at accolades and all that shit. So it'll be interesting to see who gets what. There's definitely a lot of worthy guys out there this year, but I like the list we've come up with.
Before we move to our Week 10 picks, I know you put Tyreek in your MVP or in your MVP 5. I wanted to ask you who you thought the bigger addition was, A.J. Brown or Tyreek? Because A.J. Brown is contributing to 8-0 right now.
I think it would have to be, if we're talking just like team-based and how they're performing, it's got to be A.J. But you take Tyreek away from the Dolphins, and they're probably a game or two below 500 in my eyes.
He definitely bails out Tua a lot.
He does.
So I can see that argument for sure. Now we'll get into our Week 10 picks. Week 10, we have 4 teams on the bye. Baltimore, Cincinnati, New England, and the Jets. Thursday Night Football, we have a division rivalry. Atlanta at 4-5 will be on the road at Carolina, 2-7. I'm going to have to go Atlanta this game. I know PJ struggled last game. It really doesn't mean a lot to me. Cincinnati was playing for their lives. Atlanta was in a close game that I really don't think they had any business losing. You did mention that yesterday, and I agree with you 100%. They should have wiped the floor with the Chargers, and I think they're going to bounce back this game, and they're probably going to wipe the floor with Carolina.
Yeah, I got the Falcons, but I will say these Thursday games are very tough to pick because these teams on a quick turnaround don't play the best football.
You said you had Carolina?
No, I got the Falcons.
Okay.
So I could see Carolina putting up somewhat of a hard fought game for the Falcons to come away with, but at the end of the day, I still think the Falcons are more talented, and I don't trust the quarterback situation in Carolina enough to have confidence in picking them.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but at 4-5, they were just leading the NFC South. Do you think we're going to see Desmond Ridder at all for Atlanta, or you think Mariota's going to ride out the season as a starter?
At this point, unless shit goes south in a hurry, you got to ride with Mariota.
Even though he's 130 yards, 150 yards.
They're not the greatest team. They're very average, but they have enough playmakers. The only issue I have is we don't see enough Kyle Pitts.
You got to do it. It just, whatever. It doesn't make sense. Next game, we're going to Munich. First time we've ever been to Germany. And we have the Seahawks featuring MVP candidate Geno Smith on the road, facing the GOAT, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Seahawks at 6-3, Tampa at 4-5. They're not going to hit 500. They're going to go 2 games below it. I got Seahawks going to 7-3 and really taking control of this NFC West.
Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks, but I will say I think that these overseas games can be a little tricky, and these are the type of games that Tom gets up for, and I know he's not having the greatest season, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if they did pull it off. Mm-hmm. But I just overall, I love Geno. I love what the Seahawks are doing. I think they're confident, and I think they know that they can go out and beat anyone on any given Sunday.
Is Giselle German, or what is she?
I don't know what she is.
Tom might leave out of there with a little something, so bring it back to the States. You never know. Next game, we have Detroit on the road at Chicago. Another in-division game. 2-6 for the Lions against 3-6 for the Bears. I'm going to have to go with Chicago. I see you got your Bears orange on today. If it's not Cincinnati, that must be what it is.
No, I got the Lions.
Oh, we should switch hoodies then.
I think they're going to make it 2 in a row in the division. Mm-hmm. I don't trust Chicago, and I know what they're doing has been impressive because of somewhat of a turnaround they've had. But I think beating Green Bay was, even though Green Bay is not the greatest team this year, I think beating Green Bay was kind of a confidence booster for the Lions, letting them know, like, hey, we can get this back on track. We might not get to the playoffs, but we can end this season hanging our head high.
I agree with that. And if we're just going to stick on the NFC North for a little bit, I think Green Bay is definitely the team that you fear the least right now if you're a Vikings fan.
Yeah.
I would say Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago. Maybe you can flip those middle two, but Green Bay right now just looks atrocious.
Yeah, I don't fear Green Bay at all. I mean, throughout all the years we've played them, though, I'm still going to have that in the back of my head. Like, this is a big game against Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Especially to end the season, second to last week, I think. Mm-hmm. And going to Lambeau in January is very tough. So I won't ever take them lightly, especially as Aaron's still the quarterback. But I think as of late, Detroit definitely plays us very hard. Chicago gives us some fits. And, we end the season we play in Detroit in December, but we end the season going to Green Bay and going to Chicago.
Right.
So we always have Fitz playing at Lambeau and at Soldier Field.
Yeah, division games are always tough. Those are not easy places to play, especially that late in the season. So who knows? Everybody probably gonna have trouble out there that late.
Yeah.
Sticking to you guys though, we got Minnesota at 7-1 on the road at Buffalo, 6-2. This game's gonna be a tough one to call. Definitely the game of the week.
I wish. I mean, I'm glad for Kirk's sake it's at 2 or 12 o'clock. But if I had to pick this game to be somewhere, it'd either be 3:25 or Sunday Night Football.
Why?
Just because to me, it would have to be a nationally televised game, being 7-1, 6-2, two of the top teams in their respective conferences.
I'm fine with that. I mean, the games that they have aren't very intriguing, but everybody has to get their primetime slot.
Yeah, and we already know today that we didn't get the Cowboys game flexed. Mm-hmm. It was the Chargers and the Chiefs, which I don't get because the Chargers are terrible.
Chargers and Niners.
So, no, it was Chiefs and Chargers.
Play this week?
No, the week, the game that we have against the Cowboys next week?
Okay.
That was supposed to get possibly flexed to Sunday Night Football. Yeah, it was the Chargers and Chiefs that got flexed. Okay.
Quarterback battle.
But we already saw them primetime to begin the year. So
we did.
That's what I was kind of. But my thought process on it was the Sunday Night Football crew is covering our game at home the Thursday after that Cowboys game for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So they probably didn't want to be in Minnesota for the whole week. Mm-hmm. So
that's a business decision for sure. It ain't fun to be around here in the wintertime. This game though, who you got? I'm gonna have to go ahead and rock with Buffalo.
I got two different kind of takes. It's if Josh Allen plays, I got Buffalo.
Yeah.
If Case Keenum plays, I'm gonna rock with the Vikings because I think this could be a win that we squeak out against them if Case Keenum has to lead the way. But I'm going to go into this believing Josh Allen's going to play. I think they just got too much firepower for us. And, I believe we'll I think the spread is at like 9.5 or 10. I think we'll cover.
You fuckers don't cover anything.
I think we'll cover. It might be right on the edge of covering, though. This could be like a 9-point game.
See, like you said, it could go one of two ways. I think if Josh Allen plays, this team is more talented than your team, so I think they win. If Case Keenum plays, you guys like to play down to your competition, so
that's the other thing. But I don't know. But here's another thing though. What I'm banking on is you get another week of practice in the system for TJ Hawkinson. He'll be a bigger part of the game plan, even though I don't know how much bigger you can get than 9 catches. But I feel like he's just going to open up a little bit more for the other guys on the outside. So I think this could be a high-scoring game. And if we can, obviously, we know that they're capable of being a running team when they have to be. Mm-hmm. They showed that against the Chiefs, I think. But at the same time, if we can shut down the run and can keep Josh Allen contained, we're going to have to hope for the best for coverage. I mean, and I don't know what the game plan is going to be to cover Diggs. We know he's going to want to ball out against us.
Hell yeah.
So it's going to be a tough game in that regards. But I think our offense is more than capable, especially if like Tre'Davious White doesn't play. Like we can put up points just as fast as they can.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're more balanced offensively, so I think that's gonna be a good game.
And they have a tendency to be kind of suspect against the run, especially the past few weeks. Mm-hmm. So if we can get a run game going, I think that will be very beneficial in our favor.
I agree. Next, we got the Jaguars at 3-6 on the road at the Chiefs 6-2. For me personally, this ain't gonna be any kind of contest for Mahomes and those boys. Chiefs easy with this one.
Chiefs all the way. There ain't much to say about this one.
This game, though, I think is going to be sneaky good. We have Cleveland at 3-5 on the road at Miami 6-3. I know I picked Chicago to beat Miami last week. I'm gonna go Cleveland to pick them again or to beat them again.
Yeah, I got Cleveland this week too.
Oh,
For the
that's what
upset.
the orange is for. We figured it out. About time.
This is a game I was debating the past 2 days. I'm like, which way? Because I can see this being just a close fought game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Brissett's going to lead like a game winning drive this game and shock the Dolphins.
Coming off of a bye, they have a lot of time to prepare for this offense, this high-powered offense in Miami. Secondary is okay, but they can definitely get after two. Miami didn't give up any sacks last week, and I don't know if they gave up any sacks the week before, but I think that's going to change with Myles Garrett and those guys up front.
Well, and the thing is that Cleveland's defense is no slouch, and they're 3-5. They win this game. They're hovering 500. That's all you ask for when Deshaun comes back.
2 more games, I think.
It's
Maybe
getting
1.
close, man.
Oh, next.
And this team, they could be a team that goes on a run.
They can be 5-5 and get Deshaun back and go. Yeah, they can be 10-7, sneak in there. They can be dangerous for sure. You've been saying it all year, and this will definitely be the game that they need to do that.
Yeah,
they can't fall to 3-6, but they can definitely get 4-5 and then 5-5 after that. So,
yeah,
big game for Cleveland. We both got them in a dub. Not good for me, but Miami did beat us, so I'm okay with it. Houston 1-6-1 on the road at the Giants 6-2. I have the upset. No, I'm just playing. New York Giants in this one easily.
I wouldn't have been surprised if you said that because I have a hunch that this game is going to be closer than people think.
You think Pierce is going to go off like that?
I think. Well, I was very encouraged by how they played the Eagles. They obviously lost by 12 points, and it ended up seeming not as close, but. If Pierce can have a big game and go toe-to-toe with Saquon, and you can have a big game out of Stingley and that defense, I just think, I mean, like we were saying, this Giants team is not that talented. If the Texans can catch them kind of on an off week, that they're kind of in the slums a little bit, don't be surprised about an upset. But at the same time, I got to roll with the Giants because I still like what Dayball is doing. I think they're the better team. They're very mediocre, but they still have more talent than Houston.
The crazy thing is, preseason, I would probably say this game, 1916 Giants, with the records they are now. I'd probably say this game, 1916 Giants.
That's what I'm saying.
So I can really see Houston getting the dub in this one, but when it comes down to no talent on each side, I have to go coaching. So.
Well, and when I look at the Texans' record, they're not going to end up as just a 1-win team.
They're not.
So the win's coming, and I could see it being against an upset against the Giants
because
it's very capable of doing it.
That's probably your best bet. I see that. Next game, I don't know, man. One of these teams, if they lose, they'll probably be on our next edition of Grave Diggers. We have New Orleans at 3-6 on the road at Pittsburgh. 2-6. I don't see anything good coming out of this game. I'm gonna try not to watch this one, but I'm gonna go New Orleans with the upset because I do think Pittsburgh is. I won't even say upset. I'm gonna just go New Orleans in this game.
I like the New Orleans pick, but for me personally, I'm going Pittsburgh just because they're at home. They love playing at Heinz Field. And I think the Saints are a team right now that as much, injuries as they have, and you can never trust Andy Dalton, that I still got love for Mike Tomlin, man. I just I can't dog him. So
I hear you. Both these teams are very void of talent right now, maybe due to injury or just construction of the roster. I do believe in Tomlin more than I believe in Dennis Allen, but I do believe in Dalton 100 times more than I believe in
that's
Trubisky
the
or
thing. But
Pickett. So,
you get one of those rookie games that they pull a rabbit out of their hat and they have a great game. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's at home against the Saints. And for me, every time I watch the Saints, it's like they are so much better at home flying around on the turf than they are on grass.
Seems that way.
So that I get skeptical of them going on the road, especially like the Northeast or Midwest in Lambeau or Soldier Field type areas.
Colder weather environments. Yeah, I feel that. Our last noon game, and I actually think I know what you're wearing the orange for. Denver Broncos at 3-5.
Oh no!
On the road at Tennessee, 5-3.
No.
So I wouldn't even ask your pick this game because this is what we wore the colors for. I got my Derrick Henry Tennessee colors on.
Nah, man.
And you're riding with Russ.
I'm not riding for us. I got the Titans, bro. I can't pick the Broncos. I don't rock with Hackett. I don't rock with Russ this year. Like it's a shit show over there. So if they win, props to them. But I just don't see them holding the candle for, they're gonna be holding Henry's jockstrap by the end of the game.
Probably the most unappealing game of the day for me. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it really
be a
is.
lot of ugly football in that.
And as bad as Denver is, these two teams match up well.
They really do. Outside of the superstar running back, they're pretty much the same team.
Yeah.
So, whoever's going to make a big play, that's who's going to win this game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of short yardage, a lot of grinding out the clock. So,
But you got the Titans?
I got Tennessee for sure. Moving on to one game we have at 3:05. Indianapolis Colts at 3-5-1 on the road at Las Vegas 2-6. If the last game wasn't going to be the most uneventful, this one might be. I know Vegas is still fighting for their lives in some people's minds, but I think they're cooked. But this Sam Ehlinger guy, I don't know how he's going to do at quarterback for the Colts team. He hasn't done well so far. I don't think this is going to be the game it starts. I got the Vegas Raiders in this one.
I think I got Raiders easily. I think this is a game that they get their fan base's hopes up too much, because I think this could be a blowout. You hire a guy like Jeff Saturday just yesterday, and you expect this team to come in and respect him all of a sudden, and think that, I mean,
clown show.
It's a shit show, and the fact that Jeff Saturday even asked Jim Irsay what makes me qualified for this job just goes to show you how much of a shit show it is out there.
I didn't hear about that.
That's the quote that was given. And Irsay quote was quoted saying, Jeff Saturday is more than qualified for this job. Where?
Wow.
So I don't like anything about the Colts. I'm completely off of them this season. I think they're a joke. I think Irsay is a joke. I'm not trying. There's no disrespect to Jeff Saturday. Great player, Hall of Fame career. But I just don't see how it's fair to go from TV analyst to all of a sudden a head coach in the NFL over. I mean, look, you got who was it? McCourty on Good Morning Football today. He was listing. He was saying, "How do you expect anyone to come in and respect, Jeff Saturday, players, let alone coaches?" He was rattling off, he was saying, coaches meeting, first time for Jeff Saturday. He's going to be sitting at the head of the table. You got coaches. He was rattling off, double-digit years amongst the board of coaches, and you haven't even coached ever. So how do you become a head coach and you've never been an assistant coach?
You see, I've tried to defend this guy before. This is a move I can't defend. What I have tried to defend is you trading a first-round pick to go get an elite defensive lineman. It's you bringing in quarterbacks that you think are going to be able to get your team over the top because you're not trying to tank and hit the bottom of the league. But when you do stuff like this, amongst some of the other moves that you made, there's just really no excuse for it. I can't really look at you the same way, and I have to say that you're failing at your job miserably at this point.
You're better off selling the team and letting someone else do a better job than you, or at least try, because the circus you're bringing to town, this is no offense to Colts fans, but I would be so ashamed and embarrassed to be a fan of that team right now.
Come back to Baltimore.
We
do things right out there.
And if I'm Matt Ryan, if I'm retiring, I can't wait to get the season over with. If I'm not retiring, get me the hell out of there.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Like we talked about the other day, there's going to be a lot of quarterback movement this offseason. There's going to be 4 guys in the top 15 drafted. There's going to be at least 4, 5, 6 guys released. So Maybe a couple guys retire. We'll see.
Well, and then Jeff Saturday, I think his first big move that he's made. He don't know the guy's name, but he made some 30-year-old coach the play caller, and 30? he's never called plays before. So you expect the Raiders to go out there and lose to that team this week? I'm not talking to you. I obviously picked the Raiders, but I mean anyone. Like, you're gonna tell me this is a game that has blowout written all over it. Like, this is the epitome of how bad your season is for the Colts.
Man, talk about two dysfunctional franchises right here.
Yeah.
Raiders, like, we got this in the bag. Indy said, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Yeah, Vegas should definitely handle them, but
not that I'm expecting it, but it should go down as a blowout.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything from either of these teams at this point, but I would think Vegas would be able to have their way with Indy. 2 games at 3:25. We have Arizona at 3-6 on the road at the Rams, 3-5. Another division game, another pooper, but I am going to have to go with Arizona in this one. Rams, I don't think I'll be taking this team for the rest of the year. There's nothing you do that intrigues me. There's nothing you do that makes me want to watch your football team. Matt Stafford's on pace to throw 1 touchdown a game. Cooper Kupp's your only option. We say it every week. No run game, no number 2, no tight end, no O-line. We just mentioned Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald last week for the first time all year, and it wasn't in a good way. Things are bad in L.A. Things are bad in Arizona too, but I got Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, I want to say I saw that Budda Baker's probably going to be out, so that kind of sways things for me. That defense is uninspiring. I have to go with the Rams. I can't bring myself to pick Kyler Murray right now. The way he pissed me off last game. I mean, there's just nothing good about him on the inside. I mean, he might be a good guy when it comes down to it, but as a football player and as a professional athlete, you're boo-boo and you have no leadership skills. And I would hate to be a playmaker trying to play for you. And I feel bad for D-Hop.
Maybe we see D-Hop and Aaron Rodgers link up somewhere next year or something.
Wouldn't that be something?
I don't know. We'll see. Next game, this will be America's Game of the Week. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, he's 3-6, and he will be hosting America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, at 6-2. It's gonna be a long day for that man.
Cowboys are going to blow him out.
Dallas is going to blow their ass out and get after him like he hasn't seen.
Parsons is going to have about 4 or 5 sacks.
He's going to have at least 5 hits on the QB. I'll say he'll finish 2 of those.
And I'd be scared if I'm Green Bay, and especially a fan, because I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it has the potential for Parsons to end Rodgers.
See, we're not going to do that. We're going to knock on wood for Rodgers.
It's going to be a Anthony Barr 2.0.
A Khalil Mack 3.0. We don't want to see none of that, man. We want to see.
I'm not hoping or rooting for injuries. I'm just saying, with how that O-line is playing, I mean, who knows if you're going to have Aaron Jones. There's no good receivers.
No Dobbs, no Watkins.
You're running.
No Watson.
Rodgers is going to have to either get rid of it really, really quick, like 0.2 seconds quick, or you're going to have to scramble for your life. And there's no getting away from this Micah Parsons this week.
I think Dallas is also coming off of a bye, so they're going to be real healthy.
And Trayvon Diggs is going to have 2 picks.
So Parsons with 2 sacks, Diggs with 2 picks. Who gets that first?
Parsons will have the first sack.
Who finishes the goal first? Who gets their 2 first? You think
Parsons?
Okay. You said 5, so you would have to say 2 first.
Yeah. I said it, the potential for 4 to 5 sacks this week. I mean,
it's there for sure. I'm not even going to hold you. That offensive line is not what it used to be. Bakhtiari's been in and out. The other side isn't what it used to be, and you can put Parsons over there with D-Law, bring them off the same side. I don't know anybody that can block that. Maybe the Chiefs and Philly right now, but that's it.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football. We have the Los Angeles Chargers, 5-3, on the road. San Francisco, 4-4, coming off their bye week, and I think it's going to do them wonders in this game. I got them going above 500. Jimmy Garoppolo, CMC. I don't know if Debo's back. Kittle and those boys, though. I think they're going to do a number on this Chargers team who is just reeling from injuries right now.
Yeah, I mean the Niners, they're a better team than 4-4, in my eyes. I got the Niners. The Chargers are just so uninspiring, and it's sad to say. I think they have one of the most talented rosters on paper, but
They do.
they're very poorly coached, and
They are.
it's become a bad storyline this year, and I'm surprised. I can't even believe they're 5-3.
Monday Night Football to cap off Week 10. We have Washington at 4-5 on the road, trying to take down the Giant. Philly at 8-0. I do think Washington is going to fight. You did mention it yesterday. The front seven is full of monsters up there. But I just mentioned it a couple games ago. Philly has one of those O-lines. I think that can neutralize some of these front sevens. So given that, or that being the case, and then given that Jalen Hurts is a very mobile quarterback and makes good decisions outside of the pocket and on the run, the pressure may not be as big of a factor as it was against a team like you guys. I'm going to have to go Philly in this one, 9-0.
Yeah, I got to go Philly. How can't you go Philly, But, when I look at Washington, though, it seems like every team they play that's better than them, they seem to be like the best upset team that we watch. Like, they have the potential to upset anybody at any given time. They're feisty. Heineke's a dog. But it comes down to that defensive front seven. I mean, they get after it. They got endless motors, and it's, and the thing is, it's a division game, so anything can happen.
Always tough.
So
No
it's
question.
It's going to be a tough battle for Philly, I think. But at the end of the day, you're at home, you pull it out.
Anything else on Week 10 you want to touch on before we get to our next segment?
No, I think I've covered everything I needed to cover. I mean, we're starting to get to the nitty gritty where teams are really going to have to fight their asses off to get into that playoff race, or a couple more games for some of these teams, and you're waiting for vacation.
Cancun on 3. Right now, we'll get into Gravediggers. As it stands now, we have eliminated 8 teams from playoff contention. Jacksonville, Denver, Chicago, Vegas, Houston, Washington, Carolina, Detroit. Now, I have teams in contention, even though I think you've made up your mind. We have Pittsburgh, Indy, Green Bay, Arizona, Los Angeles, Rams that is, and the New Orleans Saints. Want to go ahead and give us your pick for this week?
Y'all can throw your cheese heads in the garbage can because the season's over. Packers are fried, cooked, and add some melted cheese on top of that, because this is one of the worst seasons in recent memory for you, and you're going to be 3-7 after this week, and there's no coming back for that. And it's going to be very ugly this week, and it's going to just show everyone that it's tough times in Green Bay, and you're in for a rude awakening. I don't know how long you're going to be rebuilding for, but the cap hell that you're in with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be, a lot of you Packer fans out there are so used to winning. I mean, you grew up rooting for a team that's never been bad, besides when Aaron Rodgers got hurt the 1 year from the Vikings, and you still are pissed at us about it. And they made that rule about landing on quarterbacks and whatever. But they're going to have one of the toughest rebuild processes out of any team in the league. And I don't know how they're going to go about it, because I think they have one of the worst front offices in the league. And it's sad because I think Matt LaFleur is a pretty good coach, and that's even without Rodgers. I think he could succeed as a head coach, but he's been also it's been very beneficial for him to jump into a situation where Rodgers has been balling out MVP seasons the past couple of years.
Right.
So he hasn't really had to do a whole lot besides implement his own type of offense out there. But I mean, he lost Rashawn Gary to a torn ACL, who's like pretty much the leader of that defense when it comes down to it. And your Aaron Jones left the game in a boot. Dobbs was in a boot, I think. I mean, it's just bad all around. I mean, I think a lot of you Packer fans have already come to the conclusion that your season's over.
Right now, when I think of the Packers, all I can think of is the meme of Aaron Rodgers on the ground with his eyes wide open because
the chin strap up above his mouth.
Especially when Dobbs goes out first quarter, Aaron Jones leaves in the boot, like you said. One of your top 2-3 defenders out for the rest of the season will probably miss some of next season as well. You mentioned the rebuild. There's really no hope for this team. You said they were in cap hell yesterday. If they want to get off of Rodgers, okay, you can do that, but
they're still going to have to pay him a bunch of money.
You have to pay him a bunch of money, and Jordan Love is probably going to be a replacement for that. Now, there is a chance that you are 3-7 and you realize, we're going to be a 4-win team, and we sit Rodgers and get Jordan Love in there, see if he has something. If not, we're a 4-win team. We're going to have a high pick. Maybe we get our quarterback for the future and we get it right this time.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's looking bleak in Green Bay, and I think that's part of the reason why the thought around Green Bay is the way it is, because we understand the rebuild is going to come, but while we got that guy at quarterback, it shouldn't be looking this way.
No, that's my whole thing is like, who would ever expect to see an Aaron Rodgers led team look the way they have this year?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tom Brady's never done that. You can, and I wouldn't even count this year because he is, 45,
I think.
Yeah, 45, and like that should be how it is realistically. He's just done a very good job of having a good diet, good workout regimen, like keeping his body fresh. And that team is decimated with injuries as well. And he's desperately missing his Gronkowski partner. So
yeah, for sure.
But with Rodgers, he's had teams not this bad, but he's had close to where you're kind of looking like, well, what do they have that really scares us? Like, I mean, you made it work with Jordy Nelson. I wouldn't put him in an elite category as a receiver. He's just very good. And that was due to Rodgers, I think, throwing him the football.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Greg Jennings. Not elite, just very good quality receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's been able to make receivers look really good over the course of his career, but the guys they have in place now, they just can't catch the ball, and they can't. There's just nothing you can do about it. But he's also missing a lot of throws. He's not looking like himself. The age might be starting to catch up to him faster than it did Brady, and I don't think. I mean, Rodgers definitely can't play till 45.
Nah, Brady's just an anomaly. I don't think there's any quarterback in the league right now that could do that.
My guess is if Rodgers doesn't retire this year, you're gonna have to look at trading him and eating a shit ton of money.
Those are probably the two options, and he's
he's
an odd character. He's probably contemplating retirement.
I just think when I watched him play this year and up until last week, like I'm saying to myself, he doesn't look like he's having fun. He's very frustrated. He doesn't like this team they've put around him. And I think he's honestly just fed up being in Green Bay. I think he kind of just took that contract from them this offseason because he felt he was owed that from them. Otherwise, I feel like he really wanted to kind of get him and Devontae to Denver and start anew. And it didn't happen, so he sucked it up and he took the most amount of money he was offered from Green Bay and kind of let it ride that way.
I hate to say it, but I mean, you mentioned him taking that big contract, a terrible front office. It sounds a lot like the Lakers. I mean, I think we talked about it the other day, but LeBron is really the only reason that the Lakers are relevant. It hurts me to say that, but ever since, Mr. Buss passed away, this front office has really been bad. We had trouble getting stars to come visit. We had troubles to get good players to come play with our players. So, I don't know. I see a lot of the same things in this organization here in Green Bay. You don't get anybody in the offseason. You do everything through draft. Nobody sticks around. And you're paying a guy at the end of his rope
that's
too much money that probably doesn't deserve it, but you're doing it because of what he did for you in the past, and that doesn't help your team.
Well, and that's my thing is the rebuild process is going to be very, very tough because once Rodgers is gone, all you have to offer people is the history of Lambeau Field. There's nothing else that anyone wants to go live in Green Bay, Wisconsin for.
You want to come play with Preston Smith and Jair Alexander?
And that's the thing is those guys, I mean, not Preston, I think was a free agent signing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably a guy who wanted to play with Rodgers and be on his team.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the Packers are going to have to draft really, really well to formulate a good team.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you guys are cooked because there's no star free agent who wants to go sign with you guys. It's too fucking cold. It's ran by, sorry to say this and sorry to bring it up, but it's ran by hillbilly white people. It's a terrible fan base. There's nothing, I mean, it's your number one fan is Lil Wayne, and I think he became a fan because of Favre and Rodgers.
We can have all the Packers slander we want, but we are not gonna disrespect Weezy.
I'm not disrespecting Weezy. I was just making it a point that is their best fan is Lil Wayne.
I know you weren't. I didn't want it to get too far.
And that's me going back to the point of there are so many Packer fans these days because you were born in the 90s and
you never saw a bad quarterback.
You just said, hey, I like this team. They're good. I'm picking them. They're my team. And they haven't been bad since. Welcome to being an actual NFL fan now, going through the ups and downs of emotions and being pissed at your front office, being pissed that you can't get free agents. And it's just, you don't have that number one quarterback to fall back on. It's just, this organization has never, I think they got how many Super Bowls in their entirety of their franchise?
5, 6.
Okay. So, and two recently was 2011 and 96 or 97.
98 maybe. Oh,
98 Denver
was
won.
Denver, that's right. So yeah, probably 96, 97.
So it's, like I said, historically, they're arguably maybe the best regular season team out of any team for the past 2 decades or so.
Mm-hmm.
But they always can't pull it together in the playoffs. And how good are you really if you can't do it in the playoffs with those kind of teams and those kind of quarterbacks?
Right. I'll keep mine short and sweet. If there's a list of coaches that I made of guys that I wanted to play for, he'd be 1 or 2 easily. Pete Carroll 3, Harbaugh at the other spot. This guy, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
I'm sorry I have to do it to you.
It's tough.
It's not because I'm a Baltimore guy. I tried to keep you guys in here as long as I could just because I got respect for this organization, you as a coach, and what you're able to do with nothing on the offensive side of the football. But this year, it's just too much to come back from. I mean, I've seen you work miracles before. 11-0 with the Ben Roethlisberger team, where he had no business being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Right now at 2-6, I just don't see how you're gonna climb out of this hole right now. So I got to put you down.
Yeah, I would agree with that pick. It's, I have a lot of, I have to give a lot of credit to that organization because to go from such a long tenured coach like Bill Cowher to another long tenured coach like Mike Tomlin, that's a storied franchise, and that, they've always been really good. And yeah, there's some down years, obviously, like this year, but they're blue collar through and through. And they've been blessed with their two recent coaches in Cowher and Tomlin, where they have such good continuity. And
how many Super Bowls did Cowher win?
I don't recall.
Just the one?
I think it was just the one, honestly.
Tomlin got one?
Tomlin got one.
Why is that different from what the Packers do with Favre and Rodgers?
I'm not. Well, number one, I hate the Packers, so that's why I'm
that's
slandering.
Reason number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a big hater. But well, it's with, you could argue it's the same thing, and I just don't hate the Steelers as much, but I get so sick of hearing about how good every start of the season that the Packers are going to be, and that no one can beat them. And we have Aaron Rodgers, we have Brett Favre. Our defense is going to be top 5 this year. And
you're going to hear that until you get 2 rings, man. You could win this year, and they're sure going to be like, you only got 1.
Of course, we're always going to hear that, but
and then you get 2, they'll be like, we got 6.
Let me say this though. I know for a fact the Packers hate playing us, because besides a few years in the early 2010s, we consistently play them tough, and we're splitting with them, or I mean, we've swept them a good amount of times as well.
For sure.
We're one of the toughest teams that they face. And that's even when we have bad teams.
Yep.
So they can miss me with all that shit. Like, I'll take the Viking. I mean, I'm a Viking through and through. I'm going to take them over the Packers any day of the week. It's just why I'm hating so much now, because it's so fucking nice and it's so sweet to finally be able to realize the Packers era is no more.
I could take the same approach with Pittsburgh, but you know, I know it could happen.
But you
to us
respect
too.
Tomlin so much, you know, that you're not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Tomlin was the coach of the Packers,
I just know it could happen to us too. We could not sign Lamar this year and then look for a quarterback.
it can happen
for
to
the next 15
anybody.
years.
It can happen to anybody. But I've been through it with fucking coaches. Like, granted, I like Mike Tice, but a bad coach.
Brad Childress.
Leslie Frazier couldn't get it done. I mean, Zimmer, I loved at first, but wasn't the answer. Like, there's been so many frustrating moments in Vikings history that I've been through it. I've seen it. I know how it feels. Now, welcome to the club.
We can end on that unless you have anything else.
That's how I'm ending it. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. We appreciate y'all for sticking around. You know, a waitress will come by with your drinks, appetizers, all that soon. You know, hope y'all enjoy the show. Appreciate it.